Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. Today on our episode, we have Mr. Justin Butcher. He is an investor and a business owner who lives in Montana, which I feel like is really neat because obviously I live in Florida and I've never been to Montana and I hear it's beautiful. I have a couple of clients who travel out there, who live there part of the year. So I'm really excited to hear from him on what he does out there, how the climate is, how the real estate market is, and how he came here to purchase property and what happened. I'm sure Florida and Montana are two different climates, not only temperature wise, but people wise. So I really feel like this is going to be a great educational podcast episode. And again, we post bi-weekly podcasts, which are streamed on many social media platforms. So we invite you, our guest, to join us at any time. Reach out to us on any topic that you want to discuss. There aren't many that are off limits, and we are glad to accommodate you in any way, shape, or form. Again, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Justin Butcher, for joining us. We're sorry we're a bit late. We know you took time out of your Sunday and sent your family away to meet with
Absolutely, no
us.
problem at all. Yeah, this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, well, I'm honored that you
Yeah.
took your time out to do your first podcast with us. It's really casual and fun, and it's just about helping other people share their stories, promote their business, but more educational and just a relaxed environment because, the world is so stressful with everything going on. And so I just
There
try to
is.
make it lightened up. So, with that being said, where do you and your family live?
So
I know
right
some.
now I have a wife and three kids.
Oh,
We live
wow.
in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, my gosh.
But I'm born and raised in Billings, Montana. I'm the youngest of
Okay.
three. So I have two older sisters who are amazing sisters, and my mom still lives down there. My dad passed away about 3 years ago,
Oh,
this month actually. So that's been
oh,
pretty tough, but
difficult. Mm-hmm.
difficult, amazing parents, amazing childhood. I would tell you that Montana is just a terrible place to live, but a lot of people coming in, which is, good for our business and whatnot, but it's an absolutely amazing place to raise a family.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's
Yeah.
beautiful. And two things I can relate to you. I'm the youngest of 3 children too.
Okay. Yeah.
And my mother just passed away in November. So unfortunately, I can relate to you on losing a parent.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
sorry to hear that.
I know. So, that's difficult, but I have heard about Montana being beautiful, and I did have the opportunity to go there one time, but I couldn't go. And they were gonna go do, I think, like, horseback riding, go to, like, a ranch. So, is that what people do there? I mean, what we think?
I mean, yes, absolutely. It kind of
Mhm.
depends. I mean, Bozeman, where I live now, is probably 55, 60,000 people. It's a college town. It's a
Okay.
tech town. I mean, you got people that, live on ranches just outside of town, and I mean, but am I riding a horse every day? No, I'm
No,
not.
okay.
You
So
know,
it's not
I
the norm.
It's
People
not
don't
the
ride them to
norm,
work.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
have 3 children. How old are your children?
So Blake is going to be 10 next month, and then
Oh.
Alexa is going to be 8 in September, and then Miles is going to be 3 in January.
Oh,
So
wow. You've
three
got a
amazing
whole.
kids, and just very blessed to have healthy kids and amazing wife, and yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. 3 kids, a 3-year-old. I love 3-year-olds. That age is so cute. I think they're so, like, they
Yeah,
can talk a little bit better and they're more active and their imaginations are crazy and they're so innocent.
yeah, he's a handful, let me tell you.
Oh, I know. I know that, but it's so fun. I only had 1 child, so I had him young, so I miss the young. I'm like, I love them when they're young. When they get older, I mean, he's so great, but it's still difficult, they're dealing with, like, adult problems, and I have enough of my
Exactly,
own. Yeah,
exactly. I'm not
I have
ready for
enough.
that quite yet.
No, 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 no. You have a
Yeah,
while. Thank God for that.
yeah.
So, What is your occupation?
So my occupation right now, my W-2 occupation is I work for a company called Selby's.
Mhm.
It is a architectural engineering construction supply
Oh,
company, print shop. So we do a lot of large format prints for all the construction that's happening in Bozeman and around the state. We print. So that's kind of our bread and butter is printing, but we do so much more than that.
nice.
You know, surveying instruments, construction lasers. We sell plotters, paper, ink,
Hmm.
software, Autodesk software, Bluebeam software. So I mean, we're very diversified, and I feel like you kind of have to be diversified. In a smaller, I
Town.
mean, there's only over just over 1 million people in the state of Montana,
Oh,
and it's the
really?
fourth largest state. So I mean, you
It is
have
a big
all of these
state.
little towns kind of, throughout the state, and you need to sell more than just one thing to kind of make it work. But
To do everything, because you're not, I don't feel like your state's overpopulated. Like, is there much
oh,
traffic there? No.
I mean, there is. I mean, we have one main corridor here in Bozeman, actually two. You got Main Street, 19th Street, and the traffic feels like it's busy to me, but
Huh?
you go to other, states, other cities, it's like, wow, we have it really good here. But
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Around here, our traffic is horrendous. I feel like there's a million people just on the road every morning when I'm driving to work. I mean, it's not, I'm
right.
exaggerating, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so in Montana, what's the weather like? I mean, like particularly now, is it a heat wave like most of the other parts of the country, or is it
It,
minimal heat?
it can get hot. It can get very hot. I think yesterday was 92. It's a very dry heat.
Oh,
But I'm telling you right now, I don't want to leave in the summertime. This is the best time to be in Montana. It's just beautiful. There's no humidity. It's a little
okay.
bit more of a drier temperature. But yeah, it's just a wonderful place to be in the summertime. Wintertime, can get a little cold, but again, it doesn't have that humid feel to it, so it's not, bone chilling or anything like that.
That's what they always say with the dry heat, because I feel like
Yeah.
you said 92 and it's 93 right now and it's like stifling out there. Although
Yeah.
it's gonna rain, it's gonna be like a heat shower pretty soon. But it is so the humidity, you just get sweaty like as soon as you get in your car, even if you get the air on, it's just uncomfortable. So
Right.
if it's not like that, I think I could live there.
Yeah.
It just feels so far away because Montana, but I feel like it's nice, and I've
It
heard
is a
it's
very nice
beautiful.
place. I love to visit other towns, other cities, but I really love flying back into Bozeman and seeing the mountains and rivers, and it's
That
home.
is pretty. The
Yep.
mountains, I love mountains. 'Cause I recently drove to Ohio and I saw mountains, like, for the first time going through, like, Kentucky, Tennessee
Right.
into Ohio, and I didn't realize that Ohio has mountains and hills. And I was, like, so amazed telling people, I'm like, "I'm from Florida, I don't see this," you know? I
Yeah.
mean, we see trees and stuff, but I just feel like it's so different, and I feel like I'm high up, whereas being stuck down here in the sand.
I've been to Florida a few times. It's a wonderful state.
It's nice. I like it in the winter, in the winter and the spring. It's like the best time because you can actually be outside and enjoy it in the sun. Right now, I mean, even in being in a pool, you're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, really. So in Montana, I've heard there's like bison and buffalo roaming. Is that true?
It is true, but it kind of depends on where you're at as well.
Hmm.
I mean, we have Yellowstone Park that's just, it's probably an hour just south of Bozeman.
From where you live?
And
Wow.
there are, like Ted Turner, he has ranches up here in the Buffalo, just roam on his ranch, but just out in the open, walking through town, no, you
Yeah,
don't.
it would be
Yeah.
similar to what we see. Like I drive home from work and I see deer, just like on the side of the road. We see black bears,
Yeah,
like in our driveway and things like that. So I feel like you would see the same thing there. Your just land is more mountainous, so it's
exactly. Yeah.
better environment for them. There's more for them to do. It's not been built up like here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's black bear that come down and from the mountains. Deer. I mean, the first deer that I ever hit was on Main Street in Bozeman. The deer ran
Oh,
out in front of me in traffic, and that was the first deer I hit. So
did it
interesting
total your
story.
car?
It didn't actually. It just ran over its back legs and it broke them, and kind of a hillbilly story. But I turned around to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the deer,
Right.
and truck already pulled over and dispatched it before I could even get there. Just
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's
It's
like
common
wow.
there. Yeah.
That's a Montana story for you.
That's common. That's I know that happens, They run out of us here, but I think a lot of times when they run out in our cars here, it's dark outside, so you don't have time to react and it will total your car. Plus,
Yeah,
in Florida, everybody drives like maniacs. Let's be honest, they all speed, so they were probably speeding.
yeah.
And so they didn't have time to do anything. So I know I met you because you were purchasing a house here um, in this state. So, how did you get into real estate? And do you own real estate properties in Montana and other states?
I do. Yes, we do. So kind of just a little bit more about growing up. So my parents bought Selby's, the company I worked for, back in 1984, the year I was born.
Oh,
So kind of growing up and seeing my parents grow this business, they're huge mentors to me, especially my dad who had passed away. So how they kind of set their business up was they have Selby's and then they have another LLC or corporation that they rent back to. So they own their stores and they rent back to themselves. That right there, doing that was huge for them. You know, I really didn't get a lot of direction from my dad, as far as getting into real estate or whatnot. But in 2015, my wife and I, we bought our first house, and that was the year, 1 year after my son was born. And then when my daughter was going to be born, we needed to upgrade a little bit. So I called my dad and told him, "Hey, we're thinking about buying a new house, and we're going to sell this house." And he says, "No, you're not. You are going to rent this house." So, I listened to my dad. So we kept it, we rented it, and that turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. You know, Bozeman, especially when COVID happened, prices here have doubled. So we bought our first house for right around 240, four-bedroom house. Now that house is probably worth, 750, somewhere in there. So, the cash flow is really good, and we wanted to just kind of continue building our business. So the next market we went to was Bismarck, North Dakota. My wife's parents moved out there kind of right after we got married, and just another fabulous market. The appreciation not so much, but there you're still able to find good rental properties for, a decent price, and cash flow those properties really well. So we have one single family house here in Bozeman, two duplexes in Bismarck, and we each year, my wife and I, we kind of have a goal. We want to buy a new property each year, and just kind of keep building it. I can kind of take this conversation, probably talk about this all day if you want, but
of course.
just looking at, the average American, 401k, trying to have enough for retirement someday. And I don't max out my 401k. I put in a decent amount each month. I've been working at Selby's for 17 years, and I probably have, maybe $50,000 in my 401k,
Right.
and that's 17 years of working,
I know. I probably have the same in mine. It's not, and I've been doing
and
it longer. Yeah,
that's kind of where we started looking, and it's kind of scary to think about, okay, if I'm going to do this, let's say for another 20, 30 years, how much am I going to have when I retire? Probably not enough to
not enough.
live the retirement that we want.
Right.
So having these properties, running the numbers, making sure they're cash flowing each month. My wife stays home with the kids, which
Oh,
is
wow.
huge for us, for her to be able to stay home and raise our kids instead of sending them to a daycare. That's one of the things that we wanted to do. And it's been amazing. So, but yeah, talking about the Florida property,
Oh, yeah.
um, we found this place in Daytona Beach. It was on paper, it was amazing. It was a great opportunity. It was a great deal. Um, and we purchased it. The first 4 months, we found out that there were a few, illegals living in the unit, which they need places to live too. I mean, that wasn't
Mhm.
a huge deal to us at all. The language barrier was, but after they decided to move out, we found a couple new tenants, and they were just, I don't know, kind of nightmare. It was a nightmare situation. um older place, and we just talked about, is this a property that we want to have in our portfolio long term? And it wasn't. So I guess a lesson out there would be, sometimes on paper an opportunity, a deal may look great, but in reality sometimes it's not. you know I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was just a learning experience, right?
So that
um
leads me to my question. Yeah, so that
yeah.
would be a learning experience because I guess you wouldn't know unless you bought it, you wouldn't know it
Right.
wasn't like a good decision. And I feel like sometimes, like you said, on paper it looks good, but maybe, you know, Daytona Beach is a kind of a rougher area. So what, to my understanding, to what I've heard.
Yeah.
So, and if you aren't familiar and looking at paper, everything looks great. We all
Yeah.
know.
I mean, it
But if you
was 4 miles from the beach. It was like,
perfect.
oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. And I mean, we did our research. We talked to the property management company. We talked to our real estate agent, and everything kind of checked the boxes. And so we went for it. And like I said, we didn't lose any money on the deal.
Oh, good. Mhm.
We actually made a little bit in that sale, but we usually tend to hold things longer than a year.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can take the money and purchase another property closer to the areas that you like, I mean, closer to where
Exactly.
you live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what we're gonna do. So, I kind of give, the whole start of my real estate journey, I give a ton of credit to my mom and dad, especially my dad, for telling me, no, you're gonna rent this place. And I am so happy that I listened to him.
that was great advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that was the best advice for your journey that he could have gave. And I also worked with my parents like you for 18 years. So I worked
Yep.
with them for a long time. So, a lot of people have that in common. So I guess I would ask you, what advice would you give to somebody who's new, who's trying to get into real estate right now in these days?
I would say, a podcast that I listen to a lot is Bigger Pockets.
Mhm.
And it kind of gave me the courage, because it's scary to go out there and buy your first place. I mean, if you're putting 25% down on a rental that's 225,000, I mean, that's a chunk of change, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to run your numbers, make sure that everything looks good, do your research, create your team, talk to real estate agents, find your property management company, make sure you know the area. And then you gotta roll the dice and just go for it. Um, Besides the Daytona Beach property, the two duplexes we have in Bismarck and in Bozeman have been just amazing. You know, you're not getting a phone call every night, hey, the toilet's leaking or the sink's leaking. I mean, it just, they take care of, the day-to-day operations, and it's very smooth,
Well, that's good.
very smooth. So,
That's not what I hear from all my clients. Most of them, it's a night, like you said, the tenants, everything could be a nightmare.
yeah,
So it sounds like you have a good property management and probably good tenants, who are screened, adequately to be able to be such good, occupants for you.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I
we
think
can kind of, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no, and I think what a lot of people, like you said, they don't really have a plan, they don't they think they're gonna go into real estate and, like, make all this money, and they don't understand that you need to have, like it's as a business. This is like another business, whether it's your only job or your side job, that you do, but it's
Yep.
a business, so a business takes time, it takes money, and it's not supposed to make all that money right then.
No, it is
Y
it's a get rich slow business. If
Right.
you're expecting to get rich, and unless you're flipping homes, which I have never done and nor will I think I'll ever do. It's a very slow process. Now, I feel blessed that we kind of got in before COVID because right now, I mean, we're looking for properties and everything, the prices are so high right now.
Oh, yeah.
Cash flow is not there, interest rates are up. So I would also tell somebody new that's wanting to be an investor to just be patient. Things change. Those interest rates, I feel eventually, hopefully, will go down to that. Even 5% would be nice,
Mhm.
because then a lot of those properties, even that, 2 points or, going from 7 to 5, I mean, that opens up a lot more cash flow,
It's a
that
big
you can,
difference.
it's a big
Yeah,
difference in that
that you
payment.
can
Yeah,
afford and actually be able to be profitable if it is that you're supposed to make money off of it, to offset like the other expenses, and then makes it more affordable for new homeowners or people trying to buy houses.
exactly.
So
Yep,
it
for
spreads
sure.
out the whole because it's been chaotic. I know the average house here in Florida is like I think 430,000. Do you know what the average price is in Montana? Similar or
Well,
more?
more.
Okay.
Bozeman, for a starter, let's say 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, you're probably looking at, 750,
Oh, wow.
650 to 700, somewhere in that range, depending on, what it is. But yeah, it's very, very expensive.
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel bad for a lot of, kids coming out of high school or they're just getting married. I mean,
Difficult.
it's
They're
very
gonna have a
difficult
hard
out there.
time or they're gonna have to, like, live with their parents again just so they can save up the money, just like you said, the 5 or 10% down for the down payment is a big stiff amount, plus they gotta pay the monthly
Yep.
payments.
Right.
So if they have to afford the average house to be 750, 650,
Right.
that's big. Their salaries have to accommodate that.
Right.
Um, wow, that is
Which is
crazy.
why we are looking outside. I mean, I would love to invest here in Bozeman. I would, but
Mhm.
it just does not make sense. You cannot make the numbers work. So, the market that I really like, I really like Bismarck, North Dakota. It's the capital city of North Dakota. It's got a good economy. It's great. But again, from where we bought to where you can buy now, I mean, it's gone up $100,000 easy. So
Gosh.
the prices are inflated there too right now.
Yeah, everywhere. I feel the whole country. How far is North Dakota from where you live?
Well, we make that drive once or twice a year. It's about 8 hours.
Oh, 8 hours. Okay. Wow.
So yeah, it's a drive, especially with 3 kids in the car. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it can
I
be a
can't
long
imagine how many
drive.
stops you have to do.
Yeah.
Because I drove with
So
my 24-year-old. We had to take like 4 stops each time because
yeah,
he's like, "Are you hungry? I'm hungry. Do you have to go to the bathroom? Okay, fine."
yeah,
I can't imagine with
for
a
sure.
3-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
we're looking all over. Right now we're looking, it's just we had a good learning experience from Daytona Beach. And
Of
again, I
course.
don't call it a mistake. I call it a learning experience.
Yes.
So we're just really trying to do the market research and figure out, where we're gonna go.
Yeah. I
But
feel that.
yeah.
Yeah. So besides working and real estate, what do you do to relax and what are some hobbies that you and your family do?
Well, right now it's, I love hanging out with my family. I get done with work, I come home and I hang out with my kids and my wife. Um,
Nice.
so that's kind of, what I do. I coach my son's basketball team. My daughter
Aw.
loves gymnastics. My 2-year-old loves playing Nerf guns.
Oh, I
Um,
love Nerf guns. Those are fun.
so we do
That's
that.
great.
I
Yeah.
love fly fishing. Fly fishing is just, it's very, very peaceful. And
What
I
is
just
it?
want to
Can you explain to me? I don't think I know what that is, which actually I
fly
don't know what
fishing.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, just kind of like that picture
the
right there, right? I
picture.
mean, that's a
Right.
fly that you
Uh-huh.
would, you have a fishing rod.
Okay.
You're tying either nymphs, which would be like underwater, or a
Mm-hmm.
dry fly. And when you're fishing, you'll see these trout just, especially if you're dry fly fishing right now in July, it's perfect because again, you can go up to a lake or a river, throw these flies out on the lake, and these fish will just come up and eat them out of the water. And then the
You can
fight's
catch
on
it.
from there. You can
I
catch it.
said
Yeah,
they jump up.
absolutely.
And when you catch the fish, do you take them and cook them or do you throw them
Yep.
back? You could
Um,
do either.
Yeah, if I'm camping and I have a fire right there and I'm planning on eating it that night or something like that, I'll keep it. But I like to let them fight another day. To be honest with you, I like to catch and release. But that's just
Yeah.
me. My son's all about he wants to eat a fish. He wants to. So, but I
Oh,
don't like to catch a fish, put it in the back of my truck, and then it's rotten by the time we get it home, or if we're not going to eat it that night, I'll just let it back in the yard.
yeah.
Yeah,
Got to have a cooler with ice in there to keep it fresh.
exactly. But
But that,
trout's pretty good. Yeah,
yeah,
trout's
it
good to eat.
is. It's a
Yeah,
good taste. It's not too
yeah,
fishy. I like fish, but I don't like too fishy. So it has to be like kind of bland or
yeah,
really seasoned well. Because I'm picky.
yeah,
But that picture is a fly fish and that your friend painted, and I really like that. So you
yeah.
have to tell him.
That's why it's hung
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
it's amazing. He did a really good job in that. And so being in real estate, do you think, I know everybody says, "Oh, the market's going to shift, the prices are it's going to crash." Do you believe that?
I don't. I don't believe they're going to crash because not to get too political, but I don't know. With this election coming up, I think interest rates are gonna drop a little bit, maybe not down to 3%, but even, 5.5 to 5% would be amazing, right? And when that happens, you're gonna have everybody wanting to buy homes. Maybe it's their first house, maybe it's an investment property, maybe it's this or that, which then heats up demand, right? Again, and it's gonna start to increase prices even more. That's my 2 cents. I'm not an expert. I have no idea. I mean, we've seen prices go down a little bit here, but
Hmm.
from where they were back in 2017, I mean, again, they've doubled
Yeah, they
in
really have.
price.
Here too,
So,
they've come down. I've seen some stuff like I see, I'm like, oh, that's a really good price for the house. Like, why is it so cheap? It must have been on the market for a long time. They want to get rid of it. Or in Florida, you would say it probably needs a roof. It probably needs
right,
something done to it. But yeah, they've come down. And what I've also seen the influx here, as far as the insurance, market that I deal with, like a lot of people are turning to mobile homes because it's affordable housing and they're buying it. But I personally think they're still paying way too much for those because the
right,
value just doesn't maintain. So, I've seen them sell for 300, 350. Now, granted, some of them may be on like an acre or 2 acres of land. Okay, so but regular ones in parks, 250,000, because that's like the low house, the low
right.
sales market. Has it hit there in Montana the same with mobile and manufactured homes?
I mean, there's some trailer parks. I really don't pay too close attention to that. Um, I don't know how that market is doing with trailer homes. I really don't. Um, all I know is it would be nice if prices came down, just so it would be more affordable, affordable for people that wanted to buy a house for the first time.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's really
nearly
scary.
impossible
I mean,
unless
I
you
just
have some
think
help.
about
Yeah.
like your kids, your younger kids, like how
Right.
much, luckily you have, inventory houses that you're, adding on every year or so. So maybe they could join in or get one of those homes. But how much are they going to be if these prices keep going up by the time your
I
kids,
don't.
your
Right.
two-year-old's ready to buy a home? It's going to be like $2 million. I mean, I know like they say, the money isn't worth like the same. So if you make like, 100,000, it's like what you were if you were making half as much. Because I think in Orlando, they said the average man has to make $101,000 to live an average life here. And I can totally believe it. Just like paying the tolls and the
Inflation.
gas and buying the food, because the food is like the most expensive thing, going to the grocery store. And then if you got to pay your rent and everything, then it just starts adding up. And then you realize that $100,000 doesn't really last that long.
Right.
You can't really save, like you said. Um,
Exactly. And if I had my W-2 income and I was trying to save the amount that we're making off of our rent, I couldn't do it. There's
you
no
can't do
way.
it. You
You
can't
can't
barely
do
put
it.
any money in your 401k. And like you said, you can put a little bit and
Yeah.
but you can't put near as much as what you get from your rentals that help you be able to save. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So another piece of advice I would give for people that are wanting to get into it as well is I really think they should put their money into hard assets, right? Rental properties. I don't do any gold, silver, anything like I don't, but I am a strong believer in, if you have some extra money laying around, and then I know it's a large chunk, but you just got to buy that first one and just save it. Don't touch that money, that cash flow that's coming in. Just save it. Keep saving it. Keep saving it. And then maybe in the next year or two, you'll be ready for your next.
because it will build up. If you don't touch it, it will build up.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, because I know back in like '06 and '07, I bought rental homes. So we had two rentals and our primary, and then the '08 hit. Oh, that was a nightmare because that was a different time. The
Right.
prices of the homes were high, but not like they were now. But nobody really checked anything. If you had, this credit score, they didn't care whether you had money in the bank, whether you could make the payments. They were just like, oh, you have this credit score. Oh, you're good. And then everybody, I mean, not only me, but a lot of people, we were just so overloaded. And then the values took a total dump,
Yeah.
like to half or less of what they were. So people just had to walk away from them and then just start over.
Is that what
So
happened to you?
that's what happened to me. And so
Okay.
I've been, reluctant to get back into it, but I've slowly started, helping, with some little joint ventures,
Yep.
because I don't really have the time to look for properties, but I want to get into it. So that's great advice. Plus, it wasn't planned like correctly, like my mom always said, "Oh, you want to do that again?" I'm like, yeah, because now I learned, like you said, it wasn't a
Right.
mistake. It was like a learning experience. And so
Yeah.
I learned how to be like better with my money. And also, I mean, I was like 29 at the time, so we learned to be better with our money. And then now we're older, more experienced.
Right.
So I've started to do it a little bit because, like you said, money's not going to do anything for me, like sitting in the bank, and you can't really save it, as with after you pay all your bills, it's all
Yeah,
gone.
for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one rule that I kind of stick to is 30-year fixed mortgage, right, is huge because you know that your payment's going to be the same for 30 years, right?
Right.
Hopefully you get that thing paid off before 30 years, and that's my goal too. Right now, I think there's different phases in real estate investing. First phase would be your building phase, right? Really we want 10 properties. That's our goal, 10. And then you're in the second phase where you're starting to pay those off, right? What scares me is the commercial loans because you have your payments due in full in like 5 to 7 years. I don't really understand all of it, but what if you have a 5% interest rate today and in 5 years it's 20%? I mean, that's where That commercial real estate is a little bit different, a little bit more tricky, and I'm not to that point yet. So I stay away from it, you
Yeah,
know?
it seems a little scary because it's like good
Yeah,
right now, but you don't know what can happen in 5 years, you know?
right.
And you may just have to walk away from it. But if you don't have the money or the means, or you can't get a loan, like you said, that's a decent interest rate. Because I mean, they could go up, they could
It
come
could,
down.
but if you have it,
Hmm.
let's say you have your, I mean, our first property here, it's locked in at 3%
Right.
for 30 years. So I don't have to worry about that, right?
Correct.
So I think we're one of the only countries in the world that has, that lending where you can lock in your mortgage for 30 years, you know.
Yes.
And then kind of getting into some more, real estate strategies. I mean, you have investors where, let's say you have a interest rate at 7%, and let's say it goes down to 5%. You can refinance that, do a cash out refinance, and pull maybe not all, but the majority of your down payment out of that property, right? Um, Tax free.
And
That's
hopefully take
absolutely
it and go,
incredible.
it's tax free, and then go buy, hopefully put
Buy
that money
another
to
one, right?
another one. That's a lot of strategies that people use. And then I don't know if it's prevalent there in Montana, the sub two, where they take over existing mortgages and then retitle it in a trust or LLC or something. And then they continue to pay that loan, and
Right.
they've essentially bought the house. It's a little bit risky. It's becoming
It
more and
is.
more popular with the interest rate so high right now.
Yeah.
Um, it makes me a little bit nervous for some new investors that are doing that. They may not have the capital or, the means if something does happen. But I know it's a way for them to get into it, you
Exactly, and
know.
we
Mhm.
try we do not over leverage ourselves, period.
That's
That
a
is, I
problem. A
mean,
lot of I've seen
yeah,
it happen too many times. It happened to
yep,
myself in '08, but I see people still doing it, and I'm like, you should probably, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, for sure. Be
yeah.
careful. Yeah,
Be careful, because
yeah,
make it manageable within your means and in your life. I think most people need to do that anyways, reevaluate some things that they're doing within their life to make it manageable so you can still live a decent life and you're not so strapped and so stressed.
right. The goal is to survive, right? Don't over leverage yourself. Don't be stupid with it. It's a business, treat it as a business, but you also use leverage. What other investment can you go out there and put 20, 25% down and the bank's going to put up the rest of the money, right?
Not too many. Yeah,
I
not
mean,
not that
there's
many.
nothing that I know of. So you use leverage to get started, be smart with it, and pay them off over time. I mean, if you can pay them off, quicker than 30 years, great. That's our goal. That's what we want to do. But there's those different phases that we're focusing on, right? Like right now, we're trying to build our business. Then we're going to start paying everything off. And then once we pay everything off, guess what? You're going to
You
have
can buy
that
more.
monthly cash flow coming in month after month after month and have a nice retirement and not have to worry about, I have $500,000 in my retirement account. I better not do that, or I don't want to go on that trip because it's going to use too much money. Um, just like it's a really good business, long-term strategy for retirement. That's the way I look at it.
Mhm. Savings account. Yep. It's like a form of saving, for your future. And then obviously it's money in the house. As long as you don't pull equity, then you don't touch it, then it's sitting there.
Yep. Yep.
Have you ever mentored people to get into real estate, or you don't do you do that?
You know, I haven't. I
Oh,
haven't. I am actually, I don't know why I'm in sales. I mean, that's my job. I'm a salesman, but I'm actually pretty tight-lipped about this. I don't know if a lot of people know.
oh. I
Um,
feel like you'd be good at it. I feel like you're calm and you have a good strategy. I feel like you would be good to teach somebody
Thank you.
about
Well,
how to do it like the correct way. Mhm.
right. Well, I can tell you who I am teaching, and that's my kids.
Oh, well, that's better than any
You
teaching
know,
anybody else. Yeah.
yeah, I'm teaching my kids, but people make their own decisions. I mean, there is so much information out there, and I think you just have to do your research as an individual and figure out what works best for you, right? Me, 401k, the stock, the stock market, I don't personally like putting my money into companies that I have no decision, I can't make a decision for them. They're going to make their own decisions. Um, what if I put all my money into a company and then they make a stupid decision and the stock goes down?
It's too
That's got
risky. It's
that's too
risky.
for me,
Hmm.
that's that's more risky than buying a rental property,
Yeah,
you
I think
know?
so
If you
too.
do it the right way. If you get a 30-year fixed mortgage, you make sure that rent covers your mortgage plus some for your cash flow. That right there is you're in a good area, appreciating market. What more can you ask for? You know?
Not much. I feel like that's great, good advice. And I think some people, I see them, they just rush into it because they just want that first, like you said, they want that first deal, they want that
Deal.
first
Yep.
house, um, just to have like status, I guess. And I feel like social media, I don't know if you're big on that, but sometimes I think it's a curse because so many people are misled, to believe like, and it's just in general about life and not only real estate investing, but everything. They're
Yeah.
just misled. They miss out. I'm like, oh, it doesn't, that's not going to say the ugly part. Like you have to
Yeah.
clean the property, you got to fix it, you got to maintain it, or you got to pay for your insurance, my favorite one, or you got to search for it, or how expensive it is. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people are misled. Do you agree with that?
Um, y- Possibly.
Mhm.
Um, I just feel like, again, each person has to do the research and kind of decide what works best for them. I know that there's a lot of people that don't have, a down payment to go buy a rental property, but if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, you will find a way to do it.
You'll find it. Yep.
You will find a
Partner with
way.
somebody.
You can
Partner
partner
with
with
somebody.
somebody, you can, maybe
Borrow
it's
it.
just saving more money to, maybe it takes 2, 3 years, but you will find a way to make it happen.
Right.
And
It's good advice.
yeah.
Thanks so much for listening and joining us. If you haven't already, please share, subscribe, and like our episodes and our podcast. Also, leave a review. It will be so helpful to us, and we would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to join us at any time, we're open to any guests joining us in person and on Zoom. We post and record episodes bi-weekly, so that's twice a month. Also, they're posted on our socials, which is Facebook, Secured Insurance Group, Instagram, Colleen Insurance Lady. This podcast was hosted by myself, Miss Colleen Pacheco, and recorded and produced and edited by Sean Spazzato. Our podcast cover art was designed and created by Norma Pacheco, and our intro and outro music is created by Lounge Bar by Geronic. Goodbye.